Welcome, and I'm so glad to have you. Why don't we just go ahead and jump right in? And can you tell us just kind of your one-liner? Who are you? What's your company? What do you specialize in?
Absolutely. So my name is Bejanae Kareem. Our organization is BK International Education Consultancy, and we help school systems to create and sustain innovative learning. Simply put. And it marries all the things that I love most, which we'll get into a little bit later.
Yes, that is a perfectly summarized explanation. And because I know a little of what you do, I know kind of what that's already hinting at, which is amazing work. So take me down memory lane. What got us from point A when you're just starting to your career, most likely as an educator, as many of us in this training and development space started, until now, what you're doing now and what you specialize in now? Can you kind of take us through that journey?
Absolutely. And actually, my career started before I landed in the education space. Prior to me being an educator, I actually was in the science and the STEM fields.
Okay.
And so it'll all make sense in a second. So yes, so I majored actually in biology. I just loved, I guess, all things life, science, being able to help others. And so I spent some time actually in the food science industry and environmental science.
Okay.
I know, right? Before transitioning over into the education space. And so I was really called, and it makes sense because I come from a family of educators, right? Most educators who are educators probably come from, they have DNA in their blood, right? They have teaching
in your blood.
In
you got that educator blood.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly. And so when I transitioned over, I was really called to help support kids that look like me. And so with that being said, I was able to really marry what I've learned in the academic space, right, in the University of all things science, and apply that to my teaching to create positive outcomes for my students. And what I realized throughout my teaching career is that teachers traditionally in their teacher preparation programs didn't get a lot of support or training around science, technology, engineering, mathematics.
Right.
There was a strong push, right, for the reading, for English, and for math, right? And so the others kind of fell by the wayside. And I felt like, oh my God, this is such a disservice because all those subject content areas are integrated. So for example, in reading, if you think about reading comprehension skills that we teach students, how to identify the main ideas, how to sequence content, right? How to pull out extraneous information that doesn't have anything to do with anything, and to really hone in on the facts, how to inference. All those skills are the same thing in science and math and social studies, right? They run across the gamut. And so that really opened to my mind to, okay, how can we do a better job with integrating learning, right? And I think that's the innovative part of learning. Instead of teaching in isolation, we're going to do reading here and math here and social studies here. How can we do a better job as educators in integrating those contents? So essentially, it ends up being lifelong skills that we're teaching students, everyday learning skills, and not just a particular, content area that students may have a hard time making those connections between all those subject areas.
Right. We like to pretend that all those subjects fit in boxes neatly, right? But they don't. They don't at all. And why do we bother pretending that when really integrating across those different subjects does everybody more of a service anyway, right? I love that. And I love that you were able to draw from your prior career, bring that into education, have that different perspective that you brought with you. And I'm sure that served you in your classroom as well.
Absolutely. We had a great time, let me tell you. In my classroom with hands-on learning. I was also a robotics coach, was able to form some partnerships with NASA. So just doing that out of the box, things that we should pull in the community into the classroom was really, I feel like the best experience, not only for me as an educator and helping me to enhance my pedagogy, but also for the students, right? Because not all students have the opportunities to travel or to go here and go there. And so that's a great way to connect with the community, bring the community in, and expose kids to, oh, how do these subjects apply in everyday life? Oh, that's a job. I didn't realize I can do that when I grow up. So
that's great. And helping them connect those dots. you know, from the classroom to the real world to the career and everything in between. So, well, that definitely shows us how your passion for STEAM came to be. Now you've got another passion. You've got a second passion and specialty besides just the STEAM. And what is that one?
That's grant writing.
That's grant writing.
And let me tell you how I came to that. Same in the teacher space. I, as an educator, and if anybody out there is an educator or no educator, you know that we spend out of pocket for classroom supplies. If you've seen the show Abbott Elementary, you know that schools are underfunded and teachers, out the generosity of their heart and want to do well by their students, will spend out of their pocket to get those materials and supplies to do their jobs well. And so as a scientist, I'm always thinking, like, is there a better way to do this? Is there a better way to do this? Right? Because there has to be a better way than me spending my own money because I don't make a lot.
That's right.
I'm not making a lot. And so that's when I learned about classroom grants. And I was like, I didn't know that there were grants for teachers. I thought grants were just for nonprofits. I didn't know there were grants for teachers, right? And so I honed my grant writing skills as self-taught as an educator and was super successful in being able to access funding to do cool, hands-on, project-based learning from our students that without those fundings, they wouldn't have those opportunities or those experiences. And so now my mission and my passion is to preach the gospel, to share my knowledge, and to help other teachers to be able to tap into what is now is available since the pandemic, $1 trillion to support K through 12 learning. Like, isn't that crazy? Actually,
that blew my mind. It did. When I saw your video the other day about $1 trillion of grant money available, it blew my mind. Had no idea.
Exactly. And most teachers don't. Right. The other thing most teachers don't realize is that if you can write a lesson plan, which all teachers have to, you can write a grant application because they are very similar. And so that's part of the training, the coaching, and the tools that we offer to school systems to be able to create those innovative learning spaces is how do you crack the code? How do you understand the science of grant writers? What are funders looking for? And how can I leverage my everyday lesson plans to write a winning grant application?
I love that. I love that, you know, teachers already have the skill set needed to make this happen because none of us want schools to be underfunded. All of us are outraged that schools are underfunded. None of us want teachers going in their own pocket. So it's like, well, if teachers are searching for answers to a problem they did not create, let's be clear. Let's give them one, right? Let's give them these tools through grant writing when they already have the skill set to do so, and then empower them to have the funds they need for their classroom. That's beautiful.
And the benefit for school administrators is that I know school administrators want to be able to provide those extra things school budgets either don't cover, they don't have the funding to cover, or maybe it's not in the formula for them to cover, right? The school administrators want to address those needs to help support learning. And so what grant writing training offers, it arms a team of teachers at the school to be able to tap into those funds, not only for the classroom, but for the benefit of the school overall, right? And so what better way to invest in educators than providing them with professional learning training on how to tap into grant dollars, how to use their lesson plans to be able to tap into those funds, build community partnerships, get those resources that teachers need, whether it's flexible seating, whether it's teachers additional PD funds for themselves, whether it's family resources, right? It could be for science materials, it could be for outdoor learning equipment. It's all these cool things that are popping up that we're seeing that teachers and students need to support social and emotional learning, wellness, that traditional school budgets haven't included in their formulas, but grants offer those flexible dollars for schools to be able to do so.
That's right, to enrich the experience, really.
That's exactly.
I love that. So, so now with your specialties, you've got this beautiful knowledge base around STEAM, and you've got this toolkit for teachers around grant writing and closing these funding gaps. So with that work, I'm sure that you're partnering with schools all the time. You're offering workshops, consulting packages. Tell us a little bit about that. Like if I'm a school leader and I want to bring you in to help us close those funding gaps with a little bit of grant writing, or to, you know, work towards our STEAM certification, whatever the case is, what are some of the services you offer to help us with those things?
Absolutely. So we offer services for school leaders. So you mentioned about STEM and STEAM certification.
Yeah.
And we've been able to help several schools achieve their dream of STEM certification, but not just the certification, but to show that as a school, we have this comprehensive, innovative approach for learning that helps support students, helps them to be college and career ready, right? And so with the STEM certification, we do have a program called STEAM and STEM for school leaders.
Great.
And it's really taking the school leaders' vision and really laying it out framework by framework, because I've seen some schools approach like, yeah, we want to do this, and it's kind of piecemeal, right? We want to make sure that it's targeted, systematic, as well as going to be transformational for their instructional learning environment. So we walk them through step by step. What is the vision? You know, what community partners can help support that vision? What are the 4 dimensions that you need to be considerate of as you're building this out, as you're moving towards STEM and STEAM certification? That's even recruitment, teacher recruitment, right? Who do you have in your building to help move this vision forward, this collective vision forward, right? And then also, how can you get grants and funding, right, to help sustain your instructional program? So we do offer what we call a boot camp, a STEM and STEAM certification boot camp for school leaders to be able to achieve their dream of that STEM and STEAM certification in STEM and STEAM school-wide climate and culture, so to speak. Great. So that we have grant writing packages as well, or grant writing training. So we are dovetailing off of the concept of PLCs, professional learning communities. Professional learning communities are not just great for content area, right? They're also great for grant writing. What I found is that in school districts, whether they're public, private, charter school, is that oftentimes at the school district has limited capacity to support the hundreds to thousands of teachers in that school district on how to write grants effectively, right? They may send a list of grant opportunities, but how do you really get that training and ongoing support by a knowledgeable other, by a grant guru, so to speak, to help you learn faster, increase your learning curve, decrease your learning curve, but also increase your success rate. And so that's what we do. We offer grant writing PLC packages for schools. And one of those, well, not one, but we also like to include our grant writing playbook, which is called 12 Quick Steps to Writing Winning Classroom Grants. And educators can also, this is very popular amongst educators. They can find this on actually Amazon.com. They can find that on Amazon or Barnes & Noble.
Well, and that's easy enough.
Yes, exactly.
Make it simple.
Everybody's on Amazon.
Easy to access, yes.
And it breaks down literally how a lesson plan, part of a lesson plan, is similar to a grant application.
Yes.
Everything from the diagnostic assessment, how does that relate to a grant application? Your assessment at the end, how is that related to a grant application? The only thing that's probably different that's not in your lesson plan is a budget. So we finally teach you on how to write the budget and things to consider for the budget for your grant
project.
That's
a life skill too, you know, like having that skill can be applied in so many ways, so many areas.
It really is. And teachers often ask, well, what could I write a grant on? Well, first of all, the things that you're spending out of pocket for that you're going to your local store to get, right? So classroom materials and supplies to create an inclusive and warm environment for students. So that's one. But then anything that you can think of, as I mentioned earlier, it could be for other technology devices. It could be for outdoor learning materials. It could be for flexible seating. It could be for extended field trip experiences. Now that we're getting back outside since the pandemic, right? It could be to have guest speakers to come in and do some workshops, you know, with your students. It's a
Again,
variety
like you
of
were
things.
saying earlier about the connections between the school and the greater community, the school and the career, like all of those connections by bringing someone in, going out on a field trip, breaking down those four walls of the school building so they're not getting in the way, but creating those pathways. So grants really fuel all of that.
That's right. That's right. As a robotics coach, we actually took a field trip to a vehicle manufacturing plant to show students how robots work alongside humans in building everyday cars. And it was a mind blow, not only for myself, but for the students. They're like, oh, wow. Okay, so this is a real example of how robots are used. They're not just used, you know, on the moon somewhere, right, or out in space.
Exactly. It's not just like some novelty or, you know, eccentric thing. It's like this highly practical, everyday kind of thing. I love that. That's great. And you know, I'm so glad that you mentioned that book that you have, because, you know, maybe a teacher is at a school where their school is not quite ready to bring in a consultant or not quite ready to do a workshop. There's nothing holding that teacher back from going ahead and getting started on her own, right? Just grab that book, walk right through it, and you described it as the gift that keeps on giving, which I think is a great description.
It keeps on giving. And we've also launched an online course.
Okay.
So we are accredited to offer continuing education units, or CEUs. In Georgia, they're similar to PLUs. So teachers need to be recertified. And so this is documentation that you have gone through a quality professional learning experience. You get a certificate. And when it's time to renew your certificate, you can turn that in and use that to renew your teacher certificate. And not just in Georgia, but across the state, across the states in the United States.
Sure, because we know that from state to state, the requirements can vary a lot, and that CEU is something widely recognized.
Exactly.
Widely recognized, yes.
Internationally recognized, actually. And so we have an online course as well. Like you said, for the individual educator who is ready to tap into those funds, but maybe their school hasn't contracted with us, so to speak. So that is launching soon. We have the grant writing PLCs. We also have our grant writing guide playbook. And then we have other services as well, and programs that we offer, just depending on, we want to center the needs of the school and the teachers and the students before, you know, we share, you know, potential service offerings. But those are I would say, our high level packages that we offer that are of high value and high return.
And then you've got your book, you've got your consulting packages, you've got so many different levels and ways that an educator can engage with your work. What if I just want like a little quick sample, a little freebie? Do you have any freebies that you offer that a teacher can just grab for free, try it out on their own just to get a little sample?
Of course. I was a fellow educator. We love the freebies.
We love them. We gotta have them. We gotta have them.
I'm gonna hook my teachers up with a freebie. So yes, we have what's called a funding identification worksheet.
Okay.
And what that does is, you know, we're familiar with worksheets in the educator space, right? And this worksheet actually walks educators through, and it's 2 pages, step by step, on how can you find grants for yourself. Because a lot of educators also want to know where are the dollars? Where are these funds that you so speak of? How can I tap
where do I even start? What do I do?
Exactly.
Yes.
Where do I get started? And so the funding identification worksheet helps them just that. How can you use keywords? How can you use online searches? There are also databases. Some are free, some are not. What are those? So we walk in that worksheet educators through those resources, and so they can get started right away. They can get started right away. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So you've got all these different levels we can engage with you. I love it. No matter where we're at, whether I'm ready as a teacher to try it out, or whether I'm ready as a school to fully book with you, engage with you for even, you know, do you do like a year-long contract? Do you do ongoing support for schools?
Yes. So we prefer to do what you say, ongoing support contracts.
Yeah.
Once we provide training, right? The grant writing training, that initial training setup. And we have anywhere from 2 to 6 hours worth of content that's available. So coming in on a PLC day, right? Or professional learning day to deliver that training. We love to work with schools that have maybe a small team, like I said, a little army of educators who can help to collaboratively write grants together. And we find the most success that way because, you know, as teachers may leave or they get promoted, you'll still have a core group of educators or instructional coaches or parent engagement specialists who are armed with that knowledge to continue to tap into funding for the school, so to speak, right? And so small team training, usually this resource is included in the training package. We can also include that online self-paced course and license that to school. So for those who maybe didn't attend the training, they can do that self-paced on demand on their own time.
Yeah.
And then we can offer, like I said, that ongoing coaching and support, those check-ins where we offer strategy and technical assistance on, hey, we have this grant we want to go after for the school. What is the best way to position or to set us up for success so that we can possibly be awarded for this grant? So we can do those strategy calls and copy editing, proofreading, right? Are you answering the question that they ask, right? Are there any grammatical errors? Exactly.
If this is my first time writing a grant, I would definitely want that support. I would want someone with a seasoned set of eyes, putting their eyes on it to make sure that I'm not putting some nonsense out there. So I think that editing and copywriting support is a very important part of it.
That's exactly right. So depending on what package that the educator, the school administrator wants, we can include a variety of those services in there to, again, get them up, running, and ready for this upcoming school year with the funding that they deserve and that they need to serve their students well.
That's right. So I know for me, as a former school leader myself, like making this decision to hire a partner like you is a big decision, right? I mean, a lot of us are struggling with limited budgets or with certain constraints, with certain expectations from the district. So I would love to know a little more just about your approach to professional learning. So when you do engage with a school and they become your client, talk me through just like a typical training session with you. What could I expect as your client? You know, like how do you structure it? How do you make it engaging? Can you talk to me a little about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I can. So as I mentioned earlier, we're not about pushing services onto you that you may not need, right? We want to actually address a need that you have. And so any engagement that we start with the school leader, it's going to start with a needs assessment survey. So we want to get a sense of what is your need, what is your level, maybe if you have a small team, right, of educators that want to be trained, let's find out what is their experience with grants, because maybe they have varying experience that we can leverage and build off of, right? And so we start off with a needs assessment survey. And also because we've been accredited by the International Association of Continuing Education and Training, we are bound by high standards when we are creating adult learning training opportunities. So everything is by the book, above board, and gold standard. And so we start off with the needs assessment to understand what learners need. And then we make sure, from a personal experience of mine, is that you're not just sitting there getting the why is important, the what. We're going to show you the how during the training. We're going to make sure that it's hands-on, and by the time that you leave, you are walking away with something that you can use right away in your classroom, for your school. So it's not just we're going to sit there and lecture you the whole entire time. No, that's not what we're doing. We want to make sure that it's a working session. It's a working session, which we found is super powerful, because I know I felt that way attending trainings that didn't move the needle for my students. And
ooh, we have all been there. We've all been in those trainings. We've all been there.
Right. Or I felt like could have been a better use of my time, because I have papers I need to grade.
That's right. Time is like the only thing, you know, as precious as a teacher's, you know, the funding piece. Like we never have enough money to do what we need to do, which is what you're trying to solve. Teachers also never have enough time. So when they're with you, it sounds like you are making it a good use of their time. You are making it practical. You are making sure it's a working session.
Right. We want to make sure that we're bringing in those dollars to the school, and we really want to change the narrative of what professional learning looks like. Yes, of course, teachers need professional learning around content area, about science or English or whatever their content is, or creating classroom communities or social emotional learning or trauma-informed practices. But let's also change the narrative of teachers having to spend out of pocket and schools not having what they need, and let's embed that as a professional learning opportunity and help educators grow their skills and schools get what they need. Let's change that on what PLC and what PD looks like in schools.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you touched on the PLC model, that professional learning community, because community we're built for community as humans, right?
Exactly.
Like we're community animals. That's how we're wired. So I love that you bring that into your training. Can you tell us a little more about how you do that? How do you help schools have communities of learning around the topics you're bringing in for them? How are you building relationships and trust with the school community and just that piece of it?
Absolutely. So, you know, being an educator can often feel isolating, right? Like you have your kids, you're in there with your kids all day and you're in your microcosm, right?
Right.
But in terms of opportunities for PD, yeah, you may get, PD at the staff meeting, but to really tap into a specific area that you're interested in, that's a game changer, to have peer support, to be able to share resources, right? Like that's a win, because time, like you said, time is so precious. Educators don't have a lot of time. School administrators don't have a lot of time. But if we can share knowledge, if we can share resources, oh, I found this grant here. Oh, I found this grant there. Let's apply for it, right? Let's apply for it as a team approach. So in terms of a particular school, in terms of creating community, in addition to like the hands-on approach, making it a working session, providing you with resources and tools and refreshers on demand that you can tap into, we also want to make sure that we give you strategies on how to create an internal grant writing community as well, right? So for example, a little nugget, we use Google Drive. We use Google Drive, Google Docs for our grant writing. So we share tips like that on how you can co-author things, co-author grant applications with the teammates, the cohort within your school. We also like to keep our trainings relatively small and manageable so that we can stop and ask real-time questions. We're not just pushing like, oh, we got to get through this content. We want to make sure that whatever question that you have, that we're supporting you as a community member so that you can go out and do your best work. And so whether it's from the size, just like classroom size, right? The classroom size to create that community, sharing actual examples of grant applications that have been awarded by teachers. In this book, I share some examples of winning grants that I wrote. So again, having that model, having that template helps take some of the guesswork, relieves teachers kind of anxiety or uncertainty about, can I really grant write? Can I do this? Right?
Us teachers, we love an exemplar. We love to look at an exemplar.
We love an exemplar, right? And not a blank template, but something that actually is what we're looking for, what funders are looking for, right? So those are all ways that we create community. And then also we are building out an online platform or community of other educators who are writing grants all across the U.S. where they can share resources, share tips, and things like that, that again, continue to help build the knowledge base, take the guesswork out of it, reduce educators' learning curve so that we can get to the dollars, so we can get to the grants, get to the funds, so the teachers can do their job well and there's more positive outcomes for students.
I love it. So you guys are creating community within the school. You're providing community outside of the school to connect with other educators. I just, the adult learning nerd in me is like so inspired by the way that you structure it. Like I'm hearing adult learning theory like coming out of so much you're saying. I just have to call it out. I'm hearing that you're doing pre-assessment to see where the teachers are so that you're just not talking at them about something they might already know or something they're not even ready to access yet, meeting them where they are. And I'm hearing it being experiential, that it's like applying directly to the job. They are hands-on in your session. And I'm also hearing that it's based on solving a problem teachers actually have, right? Like we're not just like saying this just to say it. It's, everyone knows funding is a major problem in schools. Everyone knows that science, technology, engineering, math, that's where the world is going. Like you are equipping teachers in two really specific ways to solve their own problems and prepare kids for the future. So I just wanted to shout that out. And then while we're on this bragging about Bejanae moment, have you received any feedback from your clients that just made you feel like super proud, that just made your day? What kind of feedback have you gotten from your clients?
Absolutely. So I was presenting at a conference actually this past weekend, and I ran into one of the teachers who had a copy of the book that someone actually donated to her. And I was like, oh, really? Okay, great. And she attended, actually it was only like an hour training session that I had. It was like a starter one. And she told me, she was like, from your resources and from you unpacking the lesson the way you did, she was able to tap into $5,000 her first time ever writing a grant. She was like, I'm just a regular classroom teacher. I don't know nothing about grants. But with your book and how you outline it and you make it so clear for a beginning grant writer and educator, she was able to tap into $5,000. And then later she was able to get $50,000. $50,000. You know how much educators could do with $50, let alone $500, let alone $5,000, and they get $50,000? What? What?
That's some real money. Like, right. That's some difference making real money.
Exactly.
Yes. Oh, I love to hear it.
And the great thing is, as you know, I'm sure that, in the state, we need to pay teachers more, right? And so often teachers, they have side hustles, and a lot of them also have other community-based programs that they're affiliated with, maybe nonprofits or with their churches that they help support. And it's a great skill for them to have, grant writing is, because it can help them in their other areas of their life. So not just in the school system, but it's a marketable skill to help them, with a nonprofit that they want to launch or start, or the one that they work for support, So again, it's a win-win all the way around. So I really want to change the narrative of what PD looks like in school and offer this for current teachers as well as teachers coming into the field. They need to know from the teacher preparation program about granted writing before they even get into the habit of going into their pocket to buy supplies for the classroom.
I love it. Yeah. You're right. I mean, I always say teachers are the world's best people, and I just will fight anyone on that. Teachers are the world's best people, and here you are equipping them with a skill set they can bring, because teachers have these big spirits. They are maybe doing these entrepreneurial ventures, these community-based ventures, and they can apply this not only in their classroom, but in the other ways that they're making a difference in the world, and that's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
That's right.
Well, we are just about out of time. I know we started a couple minutes late, but as we're wrapping up, I have a couple just for fun questions for you. Does that work?
Okay. Let's have fun. I'm always out to have some fun. Right.
Just for fun. So let's see here. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and how would you use it? Especially when it comes to teachers and students.
Yeah. I would definitely have to say, I think I'm envisioning, I'm channeling my I Dream of Genie. I wish I could grant teachers' wishes to blink and fully stock their classrooms. That would be my superpower. They can get 3 wishes, and one of those wishes would be to fully stock their classrooms. So that would be my
if only if it was that easy. I wish. I want you to be that I Dream of Genie and spread that for teachers. I love it. And then what else we got here? Do you watch Abbott Elementary?
Of course. Now you know I watch Abbott Elementary. Okay. You absolutely don't. You absolutely don't.
Yes. Okay, good. So what Abbott Elementary character are you?
Oh, that's easy. My idol, Cheryl Lee Ralph, aka Miss Barbara Howard. That is my spirit character. I just love how she mentors Janine. She gives her the tea, the real school helps her to navigate, the school waters. I would say Barbara Howard. And that's what I'm trying to do with our STEM and STEAM PDs, as well as with our grant writing support for educators. Absolutely.
Yep. I can see that in you. I can see that you using your wisdom to take others under your wing and shepherd them along this path that we're on. That's great. You're the Barbara.
The Barbara. Bejanae the Barbara.
Bejanae the Barbara. Well, Bejanae, thank you so much for your time today. I, of course, love and respect what you're doing at BK International Consultancy. And just let us know, where can we continue to stay in touch with you, find resources from you? I, of course, on my end at CreatED, will be updating this video onto your company profile on our website. I will be adding that resource that you mentioned for teachers, that free resource, that will be available on our co-created resource shelf. Excellent. How else can teachers connect with you moving forward?
Absolutely. So we're online on the web, www.bkconsultancy.org. So the website, check out our website. We also post funding Fridays. So funding opportunities on our Instagram and Facebook page. So we post grant opportunities that schools can apply for free on our IG page. So definitely want to check us out at BK_Consultancy on IG or on Facebook at BK Consultancy for those free funding opportunities that we post. That's been a real popular, popular thing among
Friday.
Yes, Funding Friday.
Okay.
So we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're also on LinkedIn and Twitter. So let's get social. Let's get social. They can find us in any of those places.
Right. All right. Well, I'll be sure to add that in our show notes when I post these videos everywhere. And hopefully some schools will be partnering with you to increase their STEAM skills with their teachers and to get those grant dollars that we now know are out there. So thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Jen. And thank you for all the wonderful work that you're doing to help center teachers' voices in the PDs that are offered, and that you can take the guesswork out of it for school leaders. Because again, we don't have a lot of time to do our jobs, and you make it easy for them. So thank you, Jen.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, co-creators.